Media. Hello to anyone watching the live stream. My name is Jason Levine, probably better known as Fluent CMC. You can see that there. I have the great honor and privilege and pleasure to host webinars with the American TESOL Institute on different topics to help English language teachers all around the world, however much experience they have. They're beginner teachers. They have lots of experience if they teach young learners, if they teach older learners, various levels, various needs and interests. So, of course, it's not always easy to have a webinar that reaches every type of teacher everywhere, but we try to make that happen. And I'll do so today as usual. So the topic today, my friends, is teach and learn English with rap. And you can already see something here in the title. Teach and learn English with rap, because in many languages, the pronunciation of this would be teach and learn English with rap, where each syllable has the same length, as most languages are syllable timed and not stress timed. So that's a little preview of part of what we're going to be talking about today. So I think we should start with these questions. What is rap? What is hip hop? So sometimes people say, what's the difference between rap and hip hop? So I can clear that up right away. Rap is part of hip hop, rap referring to the music part of hip hop culture, because hip hop culture is not just about rappers, lyrics, and songs. In fact, it didn't begin with people rapping. So there is an important distinction there. We're going to talk about what hip hop is and one of the different elements there. However, when we're talking about the music only, we often say both, right? So, do you like hip hop music? Do you like rap? Right. So most of the time when we ask someone, do you like hip hop? We're not referring necessarily to all the elements of the culture, but it is a very important and complex culture, and rap is part of that. So what are the four elements of hip hop? Well, if rap is one of them, technically, we refer to it as emceeing, or not even technically is the wrong word. Originally, it was referred to this way. And MC is a master of ceremonies, spelled either this way, which is a hip hop way to spell it, or just MC, meaning the person who is in charge of an event, a party, to try to get the crowd going, energize the crowd on the microphone. And when DJs started playing music for dancers, for break dancers, because they were doing complicated things as DJs, their friends started to talk on the microphone, and their friends started rapping. So it was really the dancers first, the DJs who started making music for this special type of dancing, and then their friends who were on the microphone rapping. Graffiti art is also an important part of hip hop. So the MC, the DJ, the b-boy, and the graffiti artist. And we also talk about the fifth element, beatboxing, right? So we have these five elements. I grew up in this culture in different parts of the States, and I moved to the New York City area and began DJing. And not long after I started DJing, not MCing, but DJing, I started teaching English. So I was teaching English in New York City area and in New Jersey. I had students from all over the world who, different languages, different cultures, what they shared in common. Well, one of the things they shared in common was a knowledge of hip hop. Not everybody was so into the music and culture, but they all knew about it, right? Because hip hop is international, right? Mexican hip hop, Ukrainian hip hop, Tunisian hip hop, right? Hip hop, whoever is watching this video knows that in their country, there are people who are into hip hop music. And interestingly, from the old school approach of the early hip hop to newer styles of hip hop, and we're going to get to why that's important shortly. But we're actually starting to get into why it was important. There was something that brought the students together in a way around this music. Also, I was teaching in New York, where hip hop began, right in the South Bronx. This area is where it started. So my students were curious about rap and hip hop. But what I discovered was when I used hip hop in the classroom, because I thought, oh, well, rap would be great because music helps us remember. My students are curious about hip hop and rap in New York. I'll make music. I will take music that's out there, rap music that's out there. And that was interesting from a cultural perspective. But as you can probably imagine, my students needed English for they're international students. They needed it for travel. They needed it for tests, for job interviews, right? For the supermarket. And rap English is different. This is why I created a song myself, and why I'm here to talk about how you can use rap in the classroom, either rap that is out there in popular culture, or maybe more effectively, rap music that is focuses on the grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation that you need your students to have practice with, that your students need in their daily lives. So, and I don't mean just using my materials, although you are welcome to use any of my materials. They're free to use on YouTube. I'm going to talk about other things you can do as well. And yes, I was on the France Incroyable Talent to do the irregular verb song, stick, stuck, stuck. And now my job is to go to schools around the world, different countries, and teach English through rap. So we're going to get back to that in a moment, teaching English through rap. That is our focus today. But before that, I think it's informative for us to think about how learning English works. It really consists of these three components: studying the language, or learning about the language, practicing the language, and using the language. So studying the language would be translating, learning, vocabulary lists, how these grammar structures work, maybe where to put your tongue to pronounce things, right? And it's important. But it's not as important as many people think. Using English, on the other hand, is the way in the real world you need English. So it could be taking a TOEIC test, it could be a job interview, it could be a conversation with someone. So when someone says, oh, I want a conversation partner to get more practice, to me, that's interesting, because that's not really practice. If it's real life, it could be obviously not as important as a job interview, but it's still a one-time event. Practice is not about one time, right? And I want to get to that. And many people try to study English and then use English, and they're neglecting the practice component. And I don't want to spend too much time on this, because I do webinars on this topic all the time, and this is more just to get into what we're going to be talking about today with rap. So with something like music or sports or dance, I think it's more clear what practice is. In order to perform well as a musician, for example, you need to practice. So what is the boy doing? Well, practice really is repetition. And when repetition is built into language learning, magical things happen. But let me just say that it needs to happen. If it's boring repetition, then it won't happen. But that's true of anything, right? If you're bored repeating piano scales, if you're bored doing dance steps, if you're bored shooting basketballs at a hoop, you won't do it, and you won't develop a skill. So many of you, I'm sure, know about Bloom's taxonomy. If you look at the bottom, the foundation, you see the word repeat. So what is so important is building that foundation of knowledge through practicing English. And we need to think what practicing English means, and then we'll connect it directly to our topic today. So when you practice something, whether it's sports, dance, music, or language, and you're repeating, getting meaningful repetition, right? Your language becomes more accurate, your grammar, your pronunciation, also your receptive skills, and you feel better as a result. You feel confident. And this is how we build fluency and are able to use the language. That's why practice is such an important step. But as I said, if it's boring, if it's not interesting, you're not going to do it. It's not natural, like drills from a book, or I eat breakfast, you eat breakfast, he eats breakfast, this kind of thing. We are not likely to do because it's not natural to do. Now, when I say hello to my students, if I have a group of students, especially at shows, I like to talk about this. I say, okay, guys, if I say hello to you, what do you say? I say, well, we say hello. But if I say, hello, they all say, it's me. And I say, why do you say that? Something triggered, right? Something just, boop, the language popped into your head. They say, oh, it's a song, it's music. That's what happens. But then why? What is it about music? Well, that's what we're going to talk about, focusing on rap music, because I am not a singer like Adele. I'm an MC, I rap. And that's why we're going to focus on this. But any type of music that you enjoy, that you feel is natural to repeat, it will stay in your head. And that is the wonderful thing about music. But there's certain things about rap that are even more special than other types of music. And that's it's not just that because I like doing it, that I use rap, that I grew up with the culture, as I explained. There are things about rap music in particular that are really special for acquiring the English language in particular. And I won't give away anything more about that. Let's just keep going. But a couple of things more globally about music before we get to rap. What do music and language have in common? Well, so many things. When I do teacher training sessions, or I'm working with students in a workshop and I ask this question, so many great answers. And there's so many different ways to think about this. But my favorite way, and I think the most important for us as teachers to consider, is this one, that there are patterns, right? And we are accustomed to hearing the way a sentence will end, or the way a melody will continue. And a lot of that is the repetition and the chunks. What appears in a chunk form in language, but also in melody, in rhythm, and in rhyme. We start expecting what's next. And this is particularly interesting right now with large language models like ChatGPT, which we're also going to talk about later today, because that's how they work, right? Predicting the language that comes next, right? They're able to do that based on predictable chunks, collocations that are frequent in the language, especially in certain contexts. Well, that's true in songs as well. And this is really, really important. If we talk about just sentences, right? I think if I say, it took a long, your brain naturally is filling in. I mean, there may be more, there's more than one possibility, but I have a feeling most of you watching are going to say the same thing. She likes listening to, oh, that gives me, and right? So that's what I mean about it unfolding, right? Over time, meaning we have heard these before. So that's the hello, it's me idea. That's really chunking. That's what's happening here. I think we know how important collocations, chunks are. Here's another: learning language through collocations builds accuracy and fluency. You know, there are many things that are still a mystery about language, second language acquisition generally. But one thing we know, a wonderful truth is this, right? And music is a great way to build language through collocations. And rhyme is another way we chunk. Rap is full of rhyme. You hear it all the so rhyme, time, another example of the chunking of predictable patterns. Our brains love this. Our brains love rhythm in this way too. Another pattern, more chunks. Boom, but boom, bap. Wait, how did I do this? Boom, bap, boom, ba, boom, bap. There we go. Boom, bap, boom, ba, boom, bap. Right? If I do then boom, bap, your brain already has, right, kind of encoded it so quickly. So it loves rhyme and loves rhythm. And maybe you're seeing where we're getting with rap. There is rhyme and rhythm in most types of music, but anyway, I don't want to spoil it for you. But here's maybe the most important thing I can tell you today, and I referred to it at the beginning, and that is the stress-timed nature of English. Most languages are syllable timed. In most languages, we would say, "Hi, how are you doing? It is nice to meet you," right? Right? Maybe different tones, maybe a little intonation, but still the syllables are not, there's not going to be a very strong word stress or sentence stress. English, as you guys all already know, all right, is a stress-timed language. We have reduced and connected speech, or what I call shrinking and linking, in order to preserve this rhythm, which is really best explained, I think, as 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It can also be 1, 2, 3, and we have 1, 2. Basically, everything is built around this in English, and it comes from the fact that English is such a has such fixed word order, right? Subject, verb, object. But that's another webinar, right? So we would pronounce this how? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It would be, "Hi, how are you doing? It's nice to meet you." Notice how slow that is and how we still reduce and connect those grammar words, those function words. If it's fast, it's, "Hi, how you doing? It's nice to meet you." But "Hi, how are you doing?" Right? We have to, it doesn't matter how slow. "Hi, how are you doing?" You're never going to have "How are you? It is to you," right? Never. And what's cool about, oops, one moment. I thought I had it on the next slide. Let me go back. Uh-oh, go back. You're seeing all the next slides. Sorry about that. What's cool about that is rap music has this rhythm. So we can practice it this way. Let me make sure you guys can share my sound here. Now, with microphones off, because it's not fun with microphones on anyway, because it'll be delay and all kinds of stuff, I want you to repeat after me. So people who are here live, people who are watching the live stream, people who are watching the recording, this is the connection between hip hop, rap music, and language. It's not only rap that follows so closely the rhythm of conversation, but it's probably the closest, right? Because rap is has less melody focus. It's more similar to oral discourse, right? And we'll see it in this example. So here we go. I think here we go. It's not playing. Uh-oh. There we go. Yeah. As we said, it's like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Or 1, 2, 3, 4. Hi, you, nice meet, right? Like, "Hi, how are you doing? It's nice to meet you." Yeah, put it together. "Hi, how are you doing? It's nice to meet you." Now you. Yeah. That was nice, but a little slow. Check it out. Did you know we can increase the tempo, but the beat doesn't change? The beat stays the same. So follow me again from the top of hip hop. It's like, "Hi, how are you doing? Hi, how are you doing? Nice to meet you. It's nice to meet you." Okay, put it together. Look, "Hi, how are you doing? It's nice to meet you." Yeah. "Hi, how are you doing? It's nice to meet you." Exactly. Very good, very good. So, rhyme and rhythm, let's talk about them more specifically. And what we're going to talk about, so I have this crazy light bulb issue today, like a strobe, like we're in the club. What we're going to talk about is not just with rap and hip hop, but I'm going to get to how rap is even better than other types of music with rhyme and rhythm in certain ways, right? And if you don't like rap or you don't like the idea of using rap, I totally understand that. We're also going to talk about that. But How does rhyme facilitate English language learning? We already talked about the chunking, the patterns. So this is just to reinforce what we talked about before. Why does it sound good, right, harmonious? You can say, well, it rhymes. Yeah, but it's because the brain likes it, so because it's easier to encode it in memory, we feel a sense of pleasure. It's like, why does something taste good? Oh, it tastes good, right? But it's not poisonous, right? It's healthy for your body. I'm talking about, healthy, good tastes. But other things, right? We learn our first language, so much of our first language through rhyme. It's so it's familiar to us, right? And think about the sound spelling relationships in English, right? Think about uh, go and though, right? They don't look like they rhyme, or do and through, right? So we have O-U-G-H could be oo or o. So do and go are easy for students because they hear them all the time. They see them all the time. They don't think about whether it's do or goo, right? It's do and go. But through and though could be hard, often are hard, but not if they're in lyrics, right? So if we say, okay, although I have to go, right? Or yes, what you do when you're through, right? If it's in a song, if we have rhyme, then we don't have to think about how to say or spell words when English has such a crazy sound spelling uh, uh, disrelationship, or anyway, the sound spelling is all over the place in English, as you know. How about rhythm? Well, similarly, the chunking, the predictable patterns, but also, yeah, rhythm is not just sound, right? Rhythm is, right, visual. Rhythm is any pattern of movement, whether it's audio movement or physical movement. Again, the brain loves this. It feels good because it helps us remember things. And the more we repeat them, the more we repeat a rhythm, the more we remember it. And as we saw in our little practice a few minutes ago, right? And instead of thinking about sound spelling, it's the same thing. Instead of thinking about how the stress works and how shrinking and linking or reduced and connected speech works, instead of looking under the microscope at it, if we just practice it, it's something that just happens naturally. So that's what's great about rhyme for sounds and spellings, and rhythm for stress and reduced speech. Let's get right into rap now. We're about halfway through. That's perfect, right? I could have started with this, but first of all, if you feel like you don't want to use rap necessarily, everything we've been talking about applies to any music, but it's easier and to get students to improve all these things we're talking about with rap. And let's talk about why that is. So number one, we've been talking about rhyme and rhythm. There is no music that emphasizes rhyme and rhythm as much as rap does, right? It's poetry with music, right? So it's all about cadence and rhyme. And so it doesn't have the same emphasis on melody as other types of music often do. And melodies will, stray from the natural word stress and sentence stress, right? So a great example is in pop music, they'll say everybody, everybody, but we don't say everybody, we say everybody, everybody. But in a rap song, it'd be more like everybody's got to do the, right? It's going to be much, much closer to how people speak. And of course, we're not training our students to be rappers, right? We're using this as a way to help them improve their listening skills and conversation, and be able to pronounce more naturally when they speak in conversations and other types of speech. So these two things here about the rhyme and rhythm helping to get the stress patterns internalized, and the fact that because there's so much rhyme and rhythm, vocabulary retention, it's much, much easier to remember vocabulary because, as we said, the encoding that happens when there's rhyme and rhythm. So another one, though, doesn't require singing. I mean, I can't sing. I don't have a good singing voice. Anybody can rap. Now, some people can rap better than others, but in my experience, the better you are rapping a song mainly depends on how many times you've practiced it, so I've seen students who, all ages, kids to adults, who struggle with a rap song, and they think it's hard, but it's just after they've done it 5 or 6 times, it gets easier and easier. That's like any skill, right? But you can also just speak as poetry, right? I'll show you, when I show you some examples, that any rap you have works just as well if you're reading it, just like a conversation, as long as it's following the correct word and sentence stress, which my raps do, and the raps you use can do. So getting to you, now you may think, I could never write a rap. Well, maybe you don't want to, and you won't, but I'll show you it's easier than you think to do it, especially these days, thanks to, well, we'll get to that in a moment. This one I alluded to at the beginning. I just said directly that I got inspired partly because realizing that hip hop is this universal, rap is this universal, everybody knows about it. But more than that, if you look at which type of music, which genre of music is the most widely known in the world, it is definitely hip hop and rap specifically. So earlier I mentioned that, rap English is different from the English my students need to learn. And pop songs, this is a problem. Rap in particular, things like dialect, right? It's really rap English and, if we talk rap Spanish, rap French, rap Arabic, rap Japanese, right? It's always going to be this. It's always special for the culture. But pop songs, not just rap, any pop song that's out there, not a song for learning English, you've got to consider these things, right? Maybe it has a good grammar structure in it to practice, but some vocabulary people don't really use, right? It may be difficult to explain, culturally inappropriate, right? I mentioned the everybody, right? The stress patterns are different. So many teachers like searching for songs to use, and there may be songs students like, but those songs don't jive so well with your syllabus or your textbook, or more importantly, what your students need to know as soon as possible to help them proceed as English language learners, right? So this is why I wrote this song earlier that I told you about, Stick, Stuck, Stuck. And I want to show how you can write raps. It's much, much easier than you think. So I want to start with an example, kind of formula that I use, that any teacher can use. So I was asked to write a solar system rap for, it's kind of like older elementary students. This was in Spain. So, but I try to write things that can be used for different ages, but we'll take a look at it and look at the age that would be good for it. So which words and phrases did I include? Well, it's very simple. I didn't come up with them from my head. And that's where I think some teachers don't realize. They think, oh, well, how do I start? I have to have these ideas. What you need is a topic like solar system, and you need a kind of word bank. And where did I get these? I got these from the unit in a book in Spain. This is what the students needed to learn. So this is really important. You start with what's already there. Right? And so if you were going to write a story, incorporating language from the unit in your book or syllabus, whatever, if you were going to make an exercise, just some sentences, not even something contextualized like a story or a song, you would begin with that. You wouldn't just come up with it from nowhere, right? So that's what's great. You've already started if you're a teacher and you have material. So I took these words and phrases, and then I looked at grammar that was also important in that for those students that age, right? So really could be many different ages here, depending on their English level, right? So questions with do, with affirmative and negative short answers, right? I'm changing it for third person singular, et cetera, et cetera. So I had these, and then I came up with this song. Now, I've been doing this for many years. So, you know, if you say, well, I couldn't make a song like this the first time, well, yeah, I couldn't make a song the first time either. But you play around with it, and maybe it's short, maybe it's, you know, just one verse or just a chorus, right? But you can see what I did here. In our solar system, the sun is the star, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Those are the planets. And don't forget the moon. Do you live on Mars? No, I don't. Do you live on the sun? Of course not, right? So get the students to call in response there. And I continued here. So this was to demonstrate that you can have a word bank and use that. Now, there are other tools you can use. So I want to talk about those. So write down key phrases and sentences, as I did. Make word and language banks, as I showed you. Which vocabulary and grammar structures are important to repeat? So certainly, in this case, those yes/no questions would do. Right? And the short answers. So put them at that a few times in the chorus, right? Certain vocabulary for the solar system may be more important than others. So they need to remember those words. So think about what I'm saying for any topic, any level right now. You're thinking about what's most important for your students to be able to remember for a test or for some presentation or because they need it for their studies, other subjects. Use rhyming dictionaries. Rhymezone.com is the best. There's really no reason to look at another one. That's the only one I use, and I use it all the time. I've never written a song without using a rhyming dictionary at some point. Up to now, I've been doing it for years. Everyone who writes songs and writes poetry uses it. Doesn't mean they get all their ideas from it. It means like at a moment they might go to it to check something. So that song I just showed you, right? Words that maybe like, star and Mars, I could quickly notice a rhyme, but other words, rhyming dictionaries are very, very useful. So you want to find words that are easy to find rhymes for, right? And they don't even need to rhyme. Near rhymes are fine. You don't always need to rhyme. Did you get that one? Near rhymes are fine, rhyme, right? Doesn't have to be perfect. So whatever that stress sound is, like the long I right here, almost anything would end, whatever consonant at the end, right? So I mean, find, so any ein, I'm, right? Those could all work. Online dictionaries can help you with the stress. So some teachers will say, oh, it's hard to write a rap because I want to follow the correct stress, like you're suggesting. You can, if you're not a native speaker or an advanced English speaker, of course, you don't have to be a native speaker, but if you just don't have like the instinct to be sure where the word needs to be stressed, online dictionaries are great now with this. The audio pronunciation is so much better than it used to be. So I think that should not be a problem. If it's music that's holding you back, tons of places to get royalty-free music, although I need to update this list because I don't think all of them, I think some of them have memberships now. It's not that you have to pay, but you have to do something to enroll in it, and then you get a certain this or that. Like it's not just you go there and just get it quickly. But you don't even need to do this if you do chants. Right? You can just have the students like following rhythms. Students like to make their own music. I mean, if you have little ones, maybe not, but middle school, high school, ask, maybe there's somebody that wants to make the music for it. In most cases, there is, and it could be something very simple. The music I used for my raps is very simple. And then this one, Chat GPT. First thing I thought of, and first thing most people thought of when they thought of me, with a large language model, generative AI, is, Is it just going to start writing raps for me? Like, could I just use it to write a rap? And the interesting thing was to discover whether or not ChatGPT knew my style. Like, did I have enough material on the internet when it was trained to recognize me? And it did. If you make a fluent CMC style rap, it will talk about like learning English and, you know, keep at it, don't give up and stuff, all the kind of stuff that is in my songs. So definitely ChatGPT has it in there, was trained on it. So that's interesting for me. It actually can help me because I can ask it to write a song in my style and get ideas from it the same way I did with Rhyme Zone. But this can be a game changer for you. So remember the song I talked about before, the Solar System song. So in preparing for this webinar here today with you, I decided let's make a comparison. I asked ChatGPT to write a rap about the solar system. Here are the words that you saw on the screen before, exactly the same. And here's what it did. Give you a moment to look at it. Oops, excuse me. I don't know why. I need to get this off my screen so I can see it. Excuse me. Okay. Yeah, because I'll wrap it for you because I haven't wrapped it yet. And you tell me what you think. Do you know about the solar system? Yes, I do. And let me tell you, it's really something. The sun is a star. That's what it's called. And the planets revolve around it, big and small. Does it matter how far they are from the sun? Yes, it does. Wait, whoa. I don't think, well, this is not what I want. Guys, I'm going to start over. And I'll cut this out for your colleagues. So here's what I asked it to write. Here's what it came up with. Yo, let me tell you about the solar system. It's a star with 8 planets that revolve around it. Listen, the sun is the star at the center of it all, and Mercury is the closest planet. It's really small. Notice the rhythm is perfect. It got the rhythm perfectly. Venus is next. It's the hottest planet around. Earth's our home. It's where we're all found. Mars is the 4th planet. It's red and rocky. And Jupiter's the biggest. It's really quite jockey. Okay. Jockey. But notice, what could you do? You could take that out. You don't like it, take it out. You don't deliver something ChatGPT creates. You take what it creates and you mess with it. You take what's good, you leave what's not good. So I don't know what jockey means there. Saturn's got rings. They're really quite nice. I don't like that either. Uranus and Neptune are cold as ice. Okay. They actually have ice, don't they? Well, they don't. All the planets revolve around the sun, orbiting in circles. It's really quite fun. Okay, I'm not a big fan. Definitely verse 1 and the beginning of verse 2, I like best so far. Each planet has a different revolution time, some closer to the sun, some further in line. Rotations when a planet turns on its axis, it's really cool, like some interstellar practice. There are satellites too, they revolve around a planet, like the moon around Earth. It's really quite fantastic. So that's the solar system. It's really quite grand with stars, planets, and satellites all across the land. So I would have fun as a teacher cutting and pasting from this, right? Taking some good things, adding some of my own stuff. But then look what I did. I thanked it, and you don't need to thank it, but I tend to have these kind of personal conversations with it. Do you remember, guys, the grammar structures when I wrote this song for Spain? The yes, no questions would do, the short answer is affirmative, negative, and these other expressions here. So I said, could you incorporate these in? So basically, I asked it to do what I did and what I'm talking to teachers about doing. So see how I brought in the yes, no questions. Do you know about the solar system? Yes, I do. And let me tell you, it's really something. Does it matter how far they are from the sun? Yes, it does. It affects how hot or cold they become. Like, that is really good. No? Does it matter how far they are from the sun? Yes, it does. It affects how hot and cold they become. That is fantastic. Mercury's closer, so it's super hot, while Neptune's far, it's a frozen spot. Good stuff here. So basically what my idea of making a word bank and finding the rhymes yourself and the rhythm, my newest thing is going to be, if you're not inspired or you don't have enough time, take your word bank, and this is for ChatGPT generally, if you're not inspired or don't have time, take your word bank, take your grammar structures, throw them in ChatGPT, see what comes out, but then please think critically about what you get, what would be good to keep and what would not. But does it work for business English? This is my way of saying, what about adults? I mean, the planet rhyme, solar system rhyme could be good for adults who are kind of young at heart, right? But if you've got students who are adults and you think they never do anything with rap, I'd say that possibly is true. I'd also say there might be a way you can do it. Now, I have not put this into ChatGPT. This is something I took some idioms that were pretty high frequency. I was working with some school at the time, so it was also, again, from their curriculum. So it's not like these are the most important business idioms, but I decided to take, again, a word bank, a language bank, and not make a full story, a full rap, partly because it's too difficult. For me, it didn't have the time. I could do it, but it would be really, it would take a long time to make something good. I've done it before, but anyway, if you're a teacher and you don't have experience writing songs so much, then it would take you even longer, right? So what I did was I started organizing them, get the ball rolling, get something off the ground, get down to business, right? Things that kind of sounded in a nutshell, learn the ropes. Stand your ground, shoot down ideas, top notch, up in the air, keep your eye on the ball, stick with it. Rhythm, things like, oh, ball, stick, up in the air, right? And I came up with, let's get the ball rolling and get this project off the ground. We need to get down to business and stop messing around. We're not sure of our next move. It's still up in the air. Keep your eye on the ball. Stick with it. We're almost there. These are not really contextualized. Look, those are the basic procedures in a nutshell. The idea is these are what I call, well, what are called rhyming couplets. Okay, they're rhyming couplets. So it's something that adult students, maybe without music, also just things that they help them remember. Using the rhythm and rhyme to help encode it in memory, to remember the vocabulary, to get listening practice and pronunciation practice, right? But you could also put it to a beat. But this is something also, you don't have to think I have to make a whole song, right? So these are really not connected, actually. The only connections are with the first part and the second part that create the couplet, right? I have some advice for how to use raps in the classroom. Now, whenever I do something like this, it's a little tricky because what type of classroom, how many students, things like their age, things like variables, like, cultural variables, and how much time you have, things like this. But so I'm trying to think general things. So play songs as students enter and leave the classroom. A lot of these have to do with time too, right? So maybe one of my songs or a song that you created with them, right? You could just have it on because maybe you don't have time that day to go into the song, but if they're listening to it at home, maybe you play it when they're coming in at the end. You could have songs in parts, right? So like my irregular verb song, some kids, oh, it's so long. Well, but it's in 4 parts, right? 4 verses. How about just one part with your students, a few minutes a day, because you don't have that much time, and also it's overwhelming, maybe, right? So like the Planet song, you could space that song out, space it out, according to how much time you have, but also your students' English levels and their ages, things like that. Same with lines and verses. So if you create a song or a chant, I haven't used that word today for some reason, but a chant means doesn't have to be with music. It can be short, all right? You could adjust it. according to their levels, right? Halftime for lower levels. This is interesting. I'm going to show you an example of this. So let me come back to that. I'll explain that in a minute. I'll demonstrate it in a minute. Remember the solar system song where you can have some students asking the questions, right? Do you live on Mars? No, I don't, right? Because it may be too difficult to do all of the song. You can cut it that way. Please don't ask students to memorize and don't pressure them to perform. Let me explain. So remembering lyrics comes from naturally wanting to hear a song over and over again. And we'll talk about how you can help them outside of class get hooked on the songs. But if they feel like they have to remember it, then they'll be more stressed. It'll feel more like homework. They won't be they won't have intrinsic motivation. They'll think this is just to learn English, right? And why should it be? It could be, oh, I just want to learn this song, or this song we wrote together, or this song we're writing together. Also, performing it, generally pressuring students to speak doesn't work, right? Because if they're not ready to speak, it's because they need to listen more. They need to do more repetition. So when they're ready, they will. If they're shy, let them be shy, in my opinion, right? But certainly if the problem is not shyness, the problem is that they just haven't heard the song enough times, then pressuring them to perform the song doesn't really make sense. Activities, students could create activities for the song. Jigsaw, scramble, these are for any song, so rap or otherwise, right? Cut it up, they have to put it together. Gap fills are great. You could extend a song that's already out there, like one of my songs. They could write their own song, right? You could record them. They could record themselves. I've had students make music videos of themselves with a song, even if it's something very short, especially when it's short, right? Because it's much easier to do. It's less of a huge project. And the practice at home, I want to talk. That's the main thing, because music, when I made my first songs, and up until now, the goal wasn't then and has never been to rap in the classroom. It's much more natural to listen outside of class to music, not to do it in class. So that is really the key, is getting them hooked. So outside of class, they're listening on their own. They come into class and they can remember so much of the vocabulary and grammar and pronunciation that they need to. So about practicing out of class. So important. Now this is if you're not making your own songs. So this is rap or any other music. What do they like? Find out what they enjoy, how it connects most to your materials. But it could be songs they don't know. So we're moving away from rap for a second. This is anything, right? So it could be, Beatles songs that they'd never heard before, but they would like, for example, right? And also class activity. If your students say, oh, we like this rapper, for example, if you ask them, well, who are these people? You could look into who they are. And then you can also look into whether these songs are songs that are going to help them with English, or if they're more interesting culturally, like a rapper, as we said, usually is using English in a way that's different from how your students want and need to use English in their lives. Here are a few more tips. Making playlists is great. Students love that. A little bit in class, so at home they want to do it. This is another thing that really helps, right? So just a little bit of a song. Make sure they have a recording of it so they can listen again out of class, right? And the activities I mentioned before, and there are many others, but things like gap fills and scrambles, if you have time to do it in class, fine. But those are great things to do out of class and bring into class. Lyric sites and gaming sites. If you don't know lyricstraining.com, one of my raps is there for Stick, Stuck, Stuck. That's a really great site where they really gamified lyrics, where students have to quickly fill in lyrics. Practice makes what? Repetition. Practice makes, you probably are thinking something like practice makes perfect, but I think it's about progress, right? It's that link between studying English and using English. And I want to finish today, and then if you have questions, you're welcome to ask, as always. But I'd like to finish today with the newest song that I've written. And it is about the United Nations SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. And I want, maybe you know about these goals or maybe not. I'll just play you the song and you can hear about them. If you're curious, you can look into them more. There's a website in the video for the UN where you can find out more if you want. The first part of the song is the normal time. And in the second part, it's halftime. So what that means is it's an opportunity for the first part of the song to be for receptive skills for the students to watch and listen and read. And the second part is the same song, same music, same tempo, but halftime, so it's easier for them to rap if they want to, right? So you can use it you could also think about levels. If your students are very low level, you could just show them the second part. So let me play it for you. And if you want to join in the second part, you are welcome to. This is the SDGs by Fluency MC. Check it out.
Tell me, what do you know about the SDGs? You see, each of us on Earth plays a vital role in working towards sustainable development goals. It takes heart and soul, not taking things for granted. Peace and prosperity for people and the planet. This we've got to manage. The future we must plan it to work to our advantage or continue to do damage. Sustainable development goals, what do they mean? These are the SDGs from 1 to 17. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education for all human beings, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy across every nation. These are our obligations, that means you and me both. Decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities for them, him and her, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production. We need unity, climate action, life below water and life on land. They go hand in hand. Peace, justice, and strong institutions, partnerships for the goals to reach solutions. What's your contribution to sustainable development? Ask yourself this question, no question is more relevant. What's your contribution to sustainable development? Ask yourself this question, no question is more relevant. Sustainable development goals, what do they mean? These are the SDGs from 1 to 17. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education for all human beings, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy across every nation. These are our obligations, that means you and me both. Decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities for them, him and her, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production. We need unity, climate action, life below water and life on land. They go hand in hand. Peace, justice, and strong institutions, partnerships Partnerships for the goals to reach solutions. What's your contribution to sustainable development? Ask yourself this question, no question is more relevant. What's your contribution to sustainable development? Ask yourself this question, no question is more relevant.
All right, guys. Oh, my video was off. And one moment, I didn't necessarily want to stop my PowerPoint, or did I? No, I didn't. A couple more messages. Here's one for your students. You'll learn without looking when you stop feeling stressed, having fun. When you learn is when you learn the best. And another one. English learners everywhere, don't ever forget. The more you practice, the better you get. The better you get, the further you go. So relax, repeat, remember, and find your flow. And as always, what we learn with pleasure, we never forget. Huge thanks to the American TESOL Institute for the chance to do this webinar with you guys. I'm happy to take any questions you have. I can unmute you. Let me do that. Allow, yeah, you should be able to unmute now. Let me know if you can. Maybe now. If you have a question, you can also use the chat. I'll check the chat. Oh, thank you, John. If you have a question, you can in the chat or turn your microphone on your camera. You're absolutely welcome. I'll also give you my email address if you have a question. Support. You're very welcome, Azhar. Is it Ashraf? I can't see. Asharif. You're very welcome. Thank you for coming. It was a pleasure. So if you have a question, if you want to stay in touch by email. Oh, I'm really glad, Grace. I'm happy it was inspiring and it gave you ideas. That's the best. Okay. Terrific. Well, thank you, Lilian. Oh, nice. Oh, when you're in Argentina. Okay, greetings to Argentina. We're just talking about Argentina in my English class the other day. Students were doing a presentation on Argentina. Thank you, Lilian. I'm glad you were here. There will be a recording, editing out certain things, and something that will be easy to share around. Thank you, Jorge. Thanks, guys, for coming. Please be on the lookout for more great webinars by me and others for the American TESOL Institute. I will be back next month, usually do one a month. So stay tuned. And wherever you are, also thanks so much to people watching the live stream and anybody who's watching the recording. Get in touch anytime, support@fluencymc.com or through the American TESOL Institute. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. Have a great day wherever you are. English language teachers worldwide. Peace, respect, salute. Bye-bye.